Fitch has upgraded Ghana's new US dollar bonds to a CC, and that gives us a positive outlook. But they're worried about the country's ability to service its debt in the future. It projects debt to GDP ratio could still be as high as 68% next year. Well, Fitch also stressed that the country continues to remain in debt default, highlighting that liquidity pressures could lead to a downgrade. Let me bring in Associate Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah. Prof, thank you so much for your time here on Newsdesk. Just want to get your thoughts. It appears we're doing something right, isn't it?
Let me correct this. I'm a full professor now. I'm not an associate professor anymore.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. If you look at the regions and then the zones that we find ourselves when it comes to these credit ratings, we are still in the junk region. And moving from triple C to C plus does not necessarily mean that you're doing something extraordinary.
Okay.
We need to appreciate that we have negotiated on our external debt, which gives room for, some extensions when it comes to debt service. And it gives the country, kind of respite when it comes to, debt service. So the pressure, one way or the other, has gone down. But the outlook does not look, all positive, as they've indicated in their report. Because, if you look at the rate at which, the currency is depreciating, and then relative to our external debt service, you will come to appreciate that even though we are negotiating to reduce our debt, exchange rate is still having a bite on our debt levels. And by so doing, ability to pay, keeps on, reducing. And that is why they're saying that, yes, we have moved from, triple C to, triple C plus, but then it does not take us from, possibility of, not servicing our debt.
Now, it brings us to the question about how we can work to sustain our debt levels, because they're also concerned about our debt. And we live in an economy where government, to a large extent, will rely on foreign aid and loans to be able to build the kind of industrialized economy they look forward to. We're seeing this play out in every government that have come up. How then do we sustain our debt levels, which they're really worried about?
Yeah, so for now, loans may not be the route to, get in foreign inflows. Let me put it that way. I think it's about time we repackage the country and then make sure that various institutions can borrow on their balance sheet, present very good front, even though the country will have some backing for those institutions. But then to present Ghana and then say Ghana is going for loan is going to be difficult. No country will deal with Ghana seriously when it comes to lending. Another route we may have to look at is foreign direct investment to ensure that at least the country becomes, business friendly, so that the monies that government could have gone to borrow by itself, those monies will go through, individuals and other businesses that may come and then invest directly here, to create the necessary jobs that are required. But for Ghana itself as a country, it will take a long time, for us to attract, the necessary funds that is required from the international market. Unless maybe, those who are lending to us, are looking for some exorbitant, interest rate, which probably will still keep us, in high debt levels. Because we should understand that the more we keep on, borrowing at high cost, it tends to build up our debt. So from where I sit, I think, the country needs to call back, make sure that we reorganize ourselves very well to become, business friendly, so that businesses can come and invest here direct. On the other hand, public institutions like, Cocoa Board and other things can be revamped, so that government will move away from, their activities, and Cocoa Board in itself will borrow on its balance sheet. And by so doing, we should be able to attract the necessary foreign inflows that is required to help us grow.
But if we pull the brakes on borrowing, the big question then remains, how do we run the economy, especially when in Ghana, most of our internally generated funds come from taxing the people. And people already complain about being overburdened with too many tax, the e-levy, the VAT, the COVID levy. What then is the way forward for government?
Right. So we need to appreciate that the threshold of our revenue generation is okay. Let me put it that way. We don't have problem with revenue generation. The problem has to do with, prioritizing our expenditure. And if you look at all the solutions we prefer, as a country, going to IMF and all those, we try to hide away from, expenditure reductions and prioritizing expenditure as it's supposed to be. I mean, let me give you a typical example, which is a backyard example. You look at, you go to secondary schools and you visit your kids, and you will see them wearing uniforms like free SHS and all those. But it turns out that the kids are not getting food to eat, which is the important thing that keeps the kids at school, rather than just, giving them free uniforms printed, free SHS in it and all those. So from where I sit, it has to do with how we prioritize our expenditure lines. And if we are not able to, control our expenditure, it doesn't matter the levels of, expenditure, we're going to raise. There's no way we can manage the economy as it's supposed to be. So the critical thing has to do with expenditure, prioritization and rationalization.
Thank you, Professor Lord Mensah. He's an economist, just sharing his thoughts about Fitch's latest report.